Once, in the heart of a vast and ever-moving city, where the streets were paved with the stories of old, there lived a man named Dre. His hands were strong, and his heart was untamed, for Dre was the king of the streets, a man who could command the winds and bend the moonlight to his will. But, like the jaguar, sleek and fierce, his heart was burdened with a secret that no one had yet dared uncover. Dre lived in a city that never slept. The rhythm of life echoed in the sound of distant drums, and the air was thick with the scent of rain, blood, and ambition. No one could match his power, no man, no beast, no spirit. But the gods were watching. They always watched. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the air became cool and heavy, Dre ventured to the darkest part of the city, the place where shadows lived and whispers never died. It was here that he met Lisa, a woman whose spirit was as fiery as the desert sun and as mysterious as the moon's glow. Her presence was like a gentle breeze through the trees, but beneath her calm exterior lay the fury of a storm. She was unlike the others who had come before her. She was not afraid of Dre. "Why do you fear the power that I carry?" Dre asked, his voice like thunder. "I fear nothing," Lisa answered, her eyes burning with an inner fire. "I walk my path, and it is mine to shape." The following night, under the full moon's gaze, Dre took Lisa to the sacred ground of his ancestors. The land was marked by ancient stones, worn by the wisdom of time. The spirits of his forefathers watched over him, their eyes burning in the flames of the fire that crackled before them. Dre, like the lion in the savannah, was fierce and unyielding. But the elders knew, he was also alone. His heart, heavy with past battles, needed to be freed. Lisa stood by him, her gaze fixed on the sky, where the stars whispered secrets only the worthy could hear. One elder, his skin dark as midnight and his eyes sharp like the eagle's, spoke. "You are of this land, Dre. But you must know, power does not live only in strength. It lives in the balance of love and war, in the union of the earth and sky." Lisa, with wisdom that came from a place deeper than knowledge, turned to Dre and said, "You cannot walk this path alone. The spirits will not guide you if your heart is empty." With that, the fire flared brighter, and the ground beneath them trembled. The gods are tricky creatures, wise but playful in their ways. They saw the love blossoming between Dre and Lisa and decided to test it. One day, when the sun rose with fire in its belly, a great beast appeared. It was as large as a mountain, with eyes that could pierce a soul, and claws that tore the earth beneath its feet. It came from the depths of the jungle, sent by the gods to test Dre's strength and Lisa's heart. But Lisa did not cower. Instead, she called on the spirits of her ancestors. "If this beast is to claim Dre's heart, it must first pass through me," she declared. The battle was fierce. The beast roared, shaking the earth with its might. But Lisa, with the power of the earth in her veins, stood unyielding. She called on the wind to twist the beast's fury, and with one mighty blow, Dre's strength drove the creature back to the shadows from which it came. As the dust settled, Lisa turned to Dre, her eyes full of fire. "We are not invincible," she said. "But together, we are unstoppable." After the battle, Dre and Lisa returned to the city that had once been only a home to power and struggle. But it was no longer just a city, it had become a kingdom. Together, they ruled, but not as tyrants. They ruled with respect, for the land knew the balance between love and war, just as the sky knows the union of the sun and moon. Their hearts were bound, not by the chains of power, but by the strength of their spirits. And so, their legacy lived on, written in the stars, whispered by the winds, and sung by the rivers that flowed through the city. And as the sun set one final time, they knew they had conquered not just the world around them, but their own hearts, forever bound by the blood and roses of their love. As the seasons changed, so too did the winds of fate. The gods, ever watchful, saw the strength in Dre and Lisa's union. But they were curious, could their love withstand the test of time and the trials yet to come? One morning, as the first light kissed the earth, an elder appeared in Dre's dreams. His voice was the rumble of distant thunder, and his face, wrinkled like the bark of ancient trees, glowed with a wisdom that could not be measured. You have conquered the beast, and you have conquered the land. But now, you must face the greatest trial of all, the test of your hearts. The elder's words echoed through Dre's mind. When he awoke, Lisa was beside him, the flicker of the firelight dancing in her eyes. Without a word, they both knew there was more to their journey than they had yet realized. The elder spirit guided them to the heart of the jungle, where the land breathed with life and death alike. The path they walked was steeped in mystery, lined with flowers that bloomed only under the light of the moon, and trees that whispered ancient secrets. At the heart of the jungle lay the sacred pool, whose waters could reveal the deepest truths of the heart. It was here that Dre and Lisa would confront their greatest fears and desires, for the pool would reflect not only what they sought, but what they were afraid to see. They arrived at the sacred pool, where the still waters mirrored the heavens above. The elder spirit whispered in Dre's ear, "Look into the waters and see the truth of your heart." Dre knelt first. His reflection stared back at him, but it was not just his face he saw. He saw the boy he had been, lost, alone, driven by ambition and revenge. He saw the man he had become, a leader, fierce and unyielding. But most of all, he saw the man he feared he could never be, a man capable of love without fear, vulnerable to the softness of the heart. Lisa stood beside him, her gaze fixed on the shimmering waters. As she peered into the pool, the image before her shifted. She saw herself, not as the fierce warrior who had come to Dre's side, but as the woman who loved too deeply, who could be broken by betrayal, by hurt. She saw the shadow of doubt in her heart, the fear that love, no matter how pure, would always come with a price. But as their gazes met, the waters began to ripple. The reflection of Dre and Lisa merged, and the pool's waters swirled with a glowing light, illuminating their faces. They realized that love, true love, was not just about strength or power, it was about vulnerability, trust, and the willingness to stand together in the face of any challenge. The elder's voice echoed once more, "Only when you confront your deepest fears will you find the strength to conquer what lies ahead." With the wisdom of the sacred pool now in their hearts, Dre and Lisa returned to their kingdom, a land that had seen both the fruits of their labor and the blood they had shed. They had faced their darkest fears, and now, they walked in the light of their truth. Together, they ruled not just with power, but with the deep understanding that love was their greatest strength. They had learned that no empire, no matter how mighty, could stand without the foundation of a heart that knew both passion and pain. The people sang of their love, their struggles, and their triumphs. And in the stillness of the night, when the stars glistened like diamonds in the sky, the sound of drums filled the air, telling the story of Dre and Lisa, the king and queen who had conquered not just their world, but their hearts. But even as they ruled with wisdom and strength, they knew that the greatest test had yet to come. For the gods, ever curious, would continue to watch, and new challenges would arise. But Dre and Lisa were no longer afraid. Together, they had become the living embodiment of love's power, the blood and roses that grew from the earth. And so, their legacy lived on, passed down through the generations in stories whispered by the winds, sung by the rivers, and told by the elders under the shade of ancient trees.